Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And today we have a special longer video for you. We're going to look at both the best and most interesting decks for weekend missions, along with the best decks for Infinity Conquest. We're going to kick it off with a couple of Gore decks, including this absolute wild deck by Crazy M Snap, the former #1 player in both the March and April seasons of the Infinite Leaderboard. This player was absolutely the top Thanos player in the world for quite a long time. As such, he is bringing Thanos back with this Mr. Negative Thanos list that he's got a really great win rate with. It's got Gore in it. It's absolutely worth trying. We're going to take a look. So you can find Crazy streaming all the time at twitch.tv/crazymsnap. This deck needs Thanos, Gore, and Ravonna. Sage can be Wolfsbane, and Cassandra Nova can be Ironheart. That basically makes this the cheapest Thanos deck we've ever featured here on this channel. Thanos is a very powerful card, but he's a very powerful card that requires a lot of other very expensive Series 5 cards. As such, if you have Gore, you can get Thanos right now with $50 in cash, and if you can get Ravonna Series 4 card, then all of a sudden you have access to a very powerful top of the meta deck. Cool. Sage is again really great here, especially after a Mr. Negative. But a lot of the time when you don't see negative, and you do see Ravonna, your end game will be like Shang-Chi and Sage, and at that point, Shang and Wolfsbane end up doing a reasonable enough impression. All right, so this deck went 63 and 41, which is a 61% win rate. Turn 1, you want a stone draw. Turn through Ravonna or Psylocke for negative, and if you don't have negative, you would like to draw as much as humanly possible to try and get that card. Turn 3, negative over Ravonna and rocks over Cass. Turn 4, negative, and once you get negative, you're just sort of drawing and playing his cards the rest of the game. Like, I'm not going to over-explain that. It should be fairly self-explanatory. If you need an explanation, we're going to cover a negative list later that will get into more detail about that. If you can drop Iron Man, don't see negative, please drop Iron Man on turn 4. It's still really strong. Turn 5, Blue Marvel over Thanos or Gore. If no negative or anything. I tend to like Blue Marvel for all the stones that I've been playing over Thanos or Gore. Although you will play Gore or Thanos here if you're planning on doing a Shang Sage end game. Cool? And Gore Thanos or Shang and Sage is your end of the game. And obviously, if you Mr. Negative, this all goes sort of up in the air. Very powerful list, really worth checking out. 61% win rate at high infinite is no joke from one of the best players in the world. So this is our first Gore list. We're going to do one more, then get to Infinity Conquest, and we're also going to have a Gore list at the end of this video. So Crazy M Snap's list is very powerful, very cool. Props for coming up with a cheap and effective Thanos list. I know Crazy never gave up on Thanos and has been trying to make this card work, literally even at its worst, so it's great to finally see him succeed at this. Speaking of final success, we are aiming for 16,000 subs before the end of 2024. In return, we're going to give you 7 frickin' days a week of Marvel Snap videos. More thorough and consistent Marvel Snap videos with more top decks from top players than absolutely anyone is what we promise you here. Sub, please, to help us out. Like and comment to help us fight the YouTube algorithm and be shown to more people. In addition, we are giving away, this is the wrong season pass, but we are giving away a season pass for next month's season pass card, Galacta. Galacta will be given away. We're giving away 5 Galacta this week. We'll announce it on Sunday's video. The 5 people win Galacta, and then we're giving away 5 more Galacta next week. All you have to do is sub and like, and then leave a comment. Later this video, I'll tell you what that comment is. All right, next up we have Comey's Wiccan and Gore. Sizer sent this to me earlier. The current #2 player, #1 the last 2 seasons, sent this to me. Was like, Comey's has a crazy good Wiccan Gore deck. And I was like, ooh, I want to see it. This is the list. If you can get Wiccan going, you can go Ajax into Gore Hazmat. And like, unless they have a counter card, you've just won the game. And even grosser, if you, on your way to that Ajax, you played a Cosmo, right? So you Cosmo into Ajax. It's fairly easy to lose prior at that point. You're not playing a lot of powerful stuff. You can then very simply go Gore Hazmat without priority and just dominate the game. It's crazy power. You can do silly combos that are similar with anti-venom too. If you don't see Wiccan, this list is awesome, and it obviously just has the regular Wiccan Hazmat Ajax game plans. Super cool list. I'm a little bit in love. Not gonna lie. So you can find Comey's on Twitter at Comey's01. He is the current, again, world champion of Marvel Snap. This deck needs Ajax, Wiccan, Kate, US Agent, Man-Thing, and Agent Venom. Sorry, this is going to be our expensive list of the day. We've got lots of other cheap stuff for you. Gore can be Ronin, and then Valentina can be Master Mold if you're running this version of it. If not, we featured plenty of other versions of both Ajax Wiccan lists and Ajax lists that don't run Wiccan recently. If you'd like to check through previous videos, feel free. You'll find lots of top decks with this basic shell. Valentina can be Cable Mirage if you're not doing the Ronin thing. All right. Turn 1, Quicksilver. Turn 2, Kate if you don't have a 3, and you're only running 2/3, so Kate is really good here. Valentina if you do. Luke over Cosmo, generally speaking, on turn 3, unless you have a bunch of your combo going, at which point you can flip that for Cosmo. Turn 4, Wiccan over Agent Venom over Man-Thing. Luke is very important if you go the Man-Thing route with the US Agent, and much, much less important if you decide to just go huge Ajax. Wiccan obviously sets up a million combos. Agent Venom is really great if you're missing Ajax or Gore. Those are the two cards you really, really want to hit with Agent Venom. Although, honestly, you're pretty fine hitting almost anything. Turn 5, Ajax and a 2. Turn 6, Gore and Hazmat. And then you win. Cool. I don't know what else to say. This is insane power. I think, I'm in love. I will be playing this list for quite a while going forward. We're going to talk some about Infinite Conquest, but one last look at this absolute beauty of a list. I think adding Gore to this is a genuine stroke of genius. This is one of the coolest things I've seen at Gore. I didn't even consider that he might go in this shell, and I've considered a lot of different shells for Gore at this point. Let's talk about Gore. Gore is the 6-1 that's ongoing plus 2 power for each unrevealed card in play. This is your weekend review. Gore has a ton of homes. Gore is a very fun card that you will find a use for. Gore has fundamentally become the best I need power 6. I don't think it's better than Alioth. Straight up, I do not think this is a better card than Alioth, but it is big. It's a card that you're going to have to spend the rest of your time Marvel Snap counting for, saying if I play 3 unreveals and they play Gore, they now have X amount of power. Count on the board, count how many they can play with Gore in order to make sense of it. This is basically the new Red Hulk in that way, except it's less telegraphed because Red Hulk announces to your opponent how much power he has. All that said, I think Gore is going to be an absolutely great card if you're the type of person who really likes Mr. Negative or plays decks that run 6 drops. And we've got plenty of samples of Gore decks in this. If you like this type of deck, go get Gore right now. You're not going to be sad to do so. The big caveat here, however, is I think almost every card coming out in next month is sort of broken. So you have to measure, and Sunday's video will be the big preview of the new season where we break down all the different spotlight caches and all the different cards coming out, and you can rank them all and everything else. So with that information, you should have a better idea of whether you want to save or just open Gore. But I think Gore is a card that you're going to be very happy to have. This season is a lot of cards that are very close to like absolute home runs. Like I think Malekith is really, really strong. I think Frigga's a little on the weaker side, but still very strong. And when she works, she's like game winning. Gore, when he works, is game winning. Fenris Wolf, when he works, is game winning. They're not always the most consistent cards. When they do the thing, they do that thing so effectively that they're absolutely insanely powerful. If that's your playstyle, then Gore is going to be for you. He's going to be one of, if not the preeminent 6 drops in Marvel Snap going forward. However, he's still relatively replaceable, right? He's better than Magneto. He's better than Red Hulk. I don't think he's better than Goliath, but if you have Magneto and Red Hulk, can you play them instead of Gore in most decks, in most non-negative decks? Yes. Yes, you can. Cool. All right. So Tier 1 Conquest, we're going to take a quick look. So the lists that are doing the best right now in Infinite Conquest are BBAK's discard. That's a 74% win rate in 120 games, and we're going to look at all of these after. And we've got the Toxic Soul King Thanos that we featured yesterday, 74% in 76 games. And literally, I pulled that stat right before someone in chat on Twitch was like, by the way, I just got an Infinity Border with that deck. So it's even better, that deck from yesterday's video. The Sizer main, I wrote Sizer man. The Sizer main is nearly 80%. I think it's slightly in the like below 79.5 in about 50 games through 2 versions, and I'll explain those 2 versions as we go. And then we're going to do the full guide for the Mr. Negative, which is 72% in 54 games, and then with one change, 65% in 300. Let's start with the BBAK updated discard. This is the Malekith discard. I think Malekith discard is the best discard in the game right now. It wants Grandmaster very badly. The late revealing Colleen Wings Gambits I mean, basically everything in this list except Scorn are absolutely great. A late revealing Mobius, a late revealing Strong Guy turns this into a 4/15. This is just, there's a million amazing plays for this card. Top notch in the deck. Can you play it without Malekith to success? Yes. But I don't think it's nearly as good without Malekith. There are Fenris Wolf versions that are different enough and still fairly effective, but the Malekith versions are consistently outperforming the Fenris Wolf versions. I think this is where you want to be for this card. Toxic Soul King's Infinite Evil. We did a full guide on yesterday. A million people watched it. The Thanksgiving Day video was a huge hit. This list is a huge hit. It is a top-notch Marvel Snap list. Play it, love it, enjoy it. This is going to be meta. This is going to be everywhere. This is a Gore list as well. If you're looking for an extra Gore list, feel free to try this one. In my opinion, this is better than the one we looked at the start of this video. This is better than the crazy one, although time will tell how true that remains. I think this is where you want to be for this card. I think this is one of the best lists of Marvel Snap, period. Then we have the Sizer Move. We featured this deck 15 times on this channel. Sizer has a ridiculously thorough deck guide about this deck on his channel. The higher win rate version has Doctor Strange over Mobius, but we're in a very, very heavy Mr. Negative meta, and especially in Infinite Conquest, you don't want to run into a Mr. Negative you can't answer, and Mobius gives you basically an auto win into that matchup. That's the whole logic here of the Mobius instead of Doctor Strange, instead of Copycat, instead of one of the 18 cards that spin. Sizer Move, Sizer Main is one of the best decks in Marvel Snap. It is a meta staple at this point. Then we have the Mr. Negative list we're going to cover thoroughly here. This is the standard negative list, the one that's everywhere. You've probably seen this list around. Negative is legit. People have been saying that negative is still not good even with Gore, don't bother, yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's true. I think game modes that let you leverage snaps more than ladder do really, really love Gore for Mr. Negative, and I think it is a serious contender. So it shouldn't be. Sorry, let's actually say one more note. This should not be a contender. Anyone who's watched me stream lately has seen me stand foolishly against Mr. Negative. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. When they snap and play negative, you're supposed to leave, clearly. But people don't want to do that. It's a game that doesn't really have huge competitive stakes, so they stay in, and thus Mr. Negative can win, and thus Mr. Negative can climb. That's how that works. All right, so this is the standard negative list. You need Gore, Sage, and Ravonna for this list. There are versions without Gore, but I think Gore is best. Cassandra Nova can be Wong. That is the big change that exists in the version that's got more games. So when I beat this list, I find I beat this list fairly often because they play Wong. Wong telegraphs things. Wong tells me what they're trying to do. And when you tell me what you're trying to do, I can counter you and I can figure out how to play around it. If you don't play Wong, I can't tell how much power is going around. So I do think Cass is better than Wong. Cass coming out on turn 3 also gives you more space in hand for when you do the Jane Foster thing, which is also very important for the list. I don't think this list is a meme. I think this is genuinely good. Turn 1, you pass. Turn 2, Ravonna over Psylocke. Turn 3, negative over Magic over Cassandra Nova. Turn 4, negative over Iron Man over Magic. Turn 5, Magic, Jane if you negative, Gore if no negative. Turn 6, Jane if you Magic, Stomp 5. And if you Gore, Gore on 5, now you're going to play, Mystique and Iron Man. And then you win. And then turn 7, obviously, if there's a turn 7 and you played Mr. Negative, and you should only have a turn 7 if you played Mr. Negative, you just go the frick off and win. Cool. One last look at this. This is one of the best lists in the game. It folds fairly heavily to the card Mobius and Mobius, but if you're not seeing a lot of Mobius, if you're not seeing a lot of Rogue and Enchantress, you can still win. You can even still beat your Rogue decks if you're good at stacking your ongoings in the proper place and matching your power in the proper place. This list is awesome, and we haven't featured negative in quite a while. Here we go. Hey, Season Pass question. What's your favorite card this month? Bonus points for ranking them all. If you want to win a Season Pass, answer in the comments. Surtur, Frigga, Malekith, Fenris Wolf, and Gore. My rankings as of right now are Malekith, Gore, Frigga, Fenris Wolf, Surtur. Just so you know, let me know what yours are. Surtur was the Season Pass card, and this, oh wow, this is still the 3.5 version. This is a 3.4 now. It was nerfed. I don't think this needed to be nerfed. I don't think this card is especially good. I think that Surtur is completely fine. It is a card you're okay running. It only has like 3 or 4 homes. I had a lot of trouble finding Surtur lists to even feature because it's the end of the month and we featured basically every decent Surtur list. It's okay in these like mid-range shells. We're going to look at a version of that runs Gore, although it doesn't have to at the end of the video as our Gore Surtur if you want to get weekend missions done in one shot deck. Versus the other decks are just the Scar deck, the Bounce deck, and then some Thanos arishem stuff. They're very, very known shells. I don't know what else to say. Like, they're fine decks, but I don't think any of them are top of the meta, and I think thus Surtur has fallen from his lofty perch of being an S tier card to probably something more like a B tier card. You should still get the season pass because all the other stuff it gives you, but it's not especially important in that, like, in that the decks it goes in aren't the best in the meta. Indeed, even that Tuccrr deck that runs Surtur is still probably better with Gwenpool. So, I don't know. Do you need Surtur? No, but you'll be happy to have it either way. Gaming with Surtur X is the first deck we're going to talk about. This is our friend GamingwithFlashX's deck. He put this together. This is basically the standard version. I think it's cool because it runs Professor X. If you're not seeing a lot of move in your meta, and most people are not seeing a lot of move in their meta, Professor X on a Surtur, Professor X on a Call Obsidian, a Crossbones, even a Typhoid Mary is very likely going to be a game-winning play. You don't want a Juggernaut after you've done that Professor X play, but outside of that, you should be relatively safe to win a lot of games of Marvel Snap by just saying, I've got a lot of power and I've won one lane. If you can win that Professor X lane relatively cheap, right? You should be able to just put up enough power in another lane to win a game of Snap. You can find Flash at twitch.tv/GamingwithFlashX. This needs Thanos, Scar, Surtur, and Cull. Nico can be Phastos, Luke, or Psylocke, and Mobius can be just Luke Cage. So please follow GamingwithFlashX. He's one of my favorite people in this community. He's absolutely amazing, wonderful, wonderful streamer who deserves to be much bigger. Turn 1, Rock Draw. Turn 2, Draw over Armor. Turn 3, Surtur is better than Mobius, pending the matchup. If you're playing negative, all of a sudden Mobius. If they dropped a Ravonna, Mobius. Turn 4 is a 4-10. Turn 5, Professor X, or a 4-10-1, or if you played a Time Stone, Thanos. Turn 6 is Juggernaut or Armor and Scar. And sometimes you just have a free Scar and you can just sort of go off. You can go Scar, Armor, and then an extra 4-10. And in those matchups, you've won. This is a very strong list, but also this is just a Thanos Professor X take on a very known list. One more tip/trick. If you've played the Space Stone, even if you've played Professor X, Thanos is now a giant Jeff in terms of where he can be played. Feel free to drop him into that Thanos in that Professor X lane for a free win. Cool? All right. That's why I suggested Psylocke, by the way. Okay. Thanosgiving is the current bundle in the shop that everyone's asking me about. This is a Victor Pharaoh Thanos that is gorgeous. I think I'm buying this. I hate to say it. I think I'm buying this. It's 8,000 credits and this really great Thanos variant. 8,000 credits for $50 is decent value. 183% is decent value. It's not a must buy. It's not something I suggest most people buy. And thus, I do not suggest you buy this most people. With the huge, huge, unbelievable caveat of if you still need Thanos, you get Thanos from this. You have this variant, then all of a sudden you can play Thanos, and all these decks open up, and thus you should buy it. $50 for is basically you buying the 8,000 credits. You get an extra neon purple card border and a frickin' Thanos that you can play from it. That's awesome. I think that this is a must-buy bundle if you are the type to buy bundles in Marvel Snap and need Thanos. If you don't need Thanos, you're probably good to skip unless you really want this variant. If you'd like to see gameplay from these decks, please check out the stream team. Today is Friday, so check out the Pirate King Tuccrr. The King of Canada went undefeated with one of yesterday's decks, and we'll have a video up of that later today. Toxic Soul King's Gore TV. He won an Infinity Border with this, so this is a nice crossover deck, but this has been his big successful deck of the season. Do you need Gore for this list? Nah, not even a little bit. This ran Magneto to perfectly fine success. You can even run different versions of it. With like different 1-drops built around it and different cards. Do you need Surtur for this deck? Kinda, otherwise there's not really a point in running this exact version of it, because like getting Surtur to a 310 is part of the purpose. That's the biggest you can get from 3, and the stats along the way are the point. You can find Toxic Soul King at twitch.tv/ToxicSoulKingTTV. Another wonderful, wonderful streamer who you should absolutely check out. He's one of the better players in the world, top 100 player, and also extremely cool. This deck needs Kate, Surtur, Wiccan, and Goliath. Gore can be Red Hulk or Magneto. Malekith can be Anti-Venom or Iron Lad, and I know that's high series stuff, sorry. Speed can be Gladiator or otherwise the biggest three you have access to, which is why you're running Surtur in the first place. And then Copycat can be Mobius or Rogue based on the current meta. You're fine with those. You're also kind of fine with Luke in that spot. All right. He was not the #1 player in August and September. Sorry, that's left over from an old crazy thing. Toxic Soul King is just an incredibly kind person. That should say Infinity Border winner. Turn 1, Zabu over Hood over Nika. This isn't this list at all. Let's do it here. See what happens when I try and make this live on stream? I have to do it live on video. Okay. So turn 1, you want Quicksilver. Turn 2 is if you need a 3-drop. If you don't have a 3-drop, you want to drop Kate Bishop. If you have a clear curve, you want to play Cable. If you have Wiccan in hand and no other 2, you play Shadow King. If not, I very often just hold Shadow King. Turn 3, you would like to drop Surtur. Speed is fine. Copycat is usually choice 3, depending on what she is. Turn 4 is meant to be Wiccan. Feel free to play Malekith if not. 5 is Arrow, but if you played Wiccan, you can now play Malekith and one of your 3-drops as well. You can also play Arrow and one of your other 2-drops. Arrow and Cable, for example, is really strong. Turn 6 is either Gore or Eliath, and if you can play Gore or Eliath with the 2, you're very, very happy. This is pretty simple. Oh, sorry, one more thing. You can also, on the last turn of the game, if you played Wiccan, go Surtur, then Arrow for a 17 power play, which is pretty damn solid. Toxic Soul King's deck is awesome, and I give you all the permission in the world to go take this deck and dominate with it. Variations of this deck have been near the top of the Infinite Leaderboard and near the top of the win percentage boards on Untapped and Marvel Snap Zone literally all season long. Questions of the day. Question 1 from Darkest Prime. How long till they nerf Gore? I don't think they're going to nerf Gore. I think Gore is extremely well balanced. Everyone acts all the time like they just release OP cards and nerf them. That's not the case in any way, shape, or form. They did that with Agent Venom. They did that with White Widow, but White Widow was like 6 months later. Outside of that, like Surtur lost 1 power. A few cards like Thena lost 1 power. They haven't been killing and crushing new cards in the slightest, at least in 2024. In 2023, they were bad at this. In 2024, they've been relatively consistent at nailing the power level of their cards. Professor X was a problem, particularly with Cannonball. Professor X was a problem for a long time, right? Like, they buffed occasional cards that they created problems with, like War Machine, but their new releases in 2024 have almost universally been really, really well balanced. I'm very impressed with the design team's output, even if they're not always the style of card I would prefer. Buff Captain America asks what grade and subject I teach. I teach 11th grade, IB and AP English. It is a passion, and I love it very much. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. I'm doing this while live on Twitch, so I'm going to go relatively quickly through these. Thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, It Regardless, David G. Wingfield, Dirty Casual, Danton, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I Am Frostman, Je Novelit, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, and Ryan Wood, Kiertix Lee, Koi Ray, Archangel 3K, because he's the 3rd K. Get it? Black Dahlia, Prayer Froze, The Goat Seeker, Hallowed, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, Fat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Ratkovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, X V and Skippy G, Jessica Campbell, Tommy Nyquist, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Kevsy Hoda, Luna Chris, Corwin, John Q, and Jim McQ, Q-Town, Clam, Colonel Forbin, 8th Sage, Mod Supreme Models, The Best Osborne, Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan 56, Steven, Brian Coffin, Tristan H. Martin, and Jason B. Real names only. The Fuzzy Download, Spectrum X, Hood, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Craig Sterry, BG, Zodrex, check him out on Twitch, King of Canada, Twitch, and YouTube, Deadman Falcon, YouTube, Jonesy, YouTube, Two Ties, History, baby, The Great Larnedez, The Pirate King Tuccrr, who you should check out tonight, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. 2 great videos are on the side, and you can sub by clicking that button right below me. Thank you so much for the love and support. Happy Thanksgiving to anyone that didn't catch yesterday's. See you tomorrow. Peace.